to cancel culture, hookup culture, or victim culture?
Well, neither could we. We created this platform for those other girls. Girls like us who want to give a different perspective from a Christian and conservative worldview.
We talk about life, work, relationships, pop culture, and everything in between. So let's be those other girls that just don't talk about culture,
but change culture.
Everybody, you are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Hope.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Those Other Girls. We are back to our Tuesday episodes where we interview people, and I'm just so excited to have Hope on, my friend Hope. We have been, we've been like chatting almost a year now, just about various things, and I love following all that she does. She's the president of Simply Prolife. But let me tell you something else about her. Hope, tell us how old you are.
I am 18 years old.
Amazing. I am blown away. I absolutely love that. She is so young. A, she has a nonprofit. And B, she's so bold and vocal. Like, this is the next generation. I'm saying that like I'm just 28. It's not like I'm 60 years older. But technically you are technically the next generation. You're Gen Z. And I'm the end of millennials. But either way, like I'm so impressed by everything you do. Seeing all the things that you put together, just seeing all the stuff on your Instagram, just like, oh wow, Hope is amazing. And she also has a podcast that I was on, and I'll link it. I'll link that episode, and I'll also link the podcast, because I do think that it is very important for all of us to be supporting the different pro-life podcasts and to share them. We may have the same message, which is abortion is murder. Women, we are able, and more than able and capable to take care of our own children. But we're going to have different things that are different about us. We can even have some of the same guests on, and it'll still be a little twing about it, because we're different people. We have different concentrations. We also have different talents. So I really encourage everyone listening. I'll link it all, and we'll mention it again at the end, all of her social media. But before we get into that, Hope, can you tell us what is Simply Prolife?
Yeah, so Simply Prolife, let's see, I had the idea just a little over a year ago for it, and it came from a place of like stress and anxiety about activism I was doing. I felt like I wasn't doing enough, but I didn't know what to do, and I was kind of beating myself up over it. So I went and talked to, my now boyfriend, and he told me to kind of just take it one step at a time, to do simple things for the movement with consistency. So I started this challenge of doing something for, something simple for the pro-life movement for 100 days. And then I got kicked off of all social media. I had no access to any of my accounts. It was bad. People thought I blocked them. So then I was like, you know what? Social media is great, but it's not enough anyway. So it kind of prompted me to start taking action in person. So I started doing more events. Well, I was already doing activism in person, but then I started to do my own events, hosting my own events as a way to reach people, because social media wasn't doing it. I did get my accounts back though. Anyways, so Simply Prolife was kind of born that way. I started that 100-day series just saying that I was doing something simple for the pro-life movement. And then I did this fall event for teenagers called the Simply Prolife event, where I was connecting organizations to young people who want to get involved. And then since then, I've kind of just, been doing that, sharing simple ideas. And it became an official nonprofit at the end of April, but I didn't know until May. So I say the birthday is like May 1st, because technically it's April 28th, and that's my sister's birthday. So we wanted to differentiate a little bit. But
good. I get it.
Yeah. So the goal is to help people do the simple things for the pro-life movement by giving them the means and resources to do so. And that looks a lot of different ways, but my biggest thing is events in person, creating community that way.
That's fabulous. I love that. And I love, you said connecting with high schoolers. You had that event. Can you talk a little bit about that event? Yeah. How did you get the idea? And if someone listening wants to do that, I would love, I'm just putting this out there, I would love if you could come to my town and help us with an event or do an event there. There's definitely, it's so funny you say that, because I was talking to someone about we need something like that. So this is a good connection.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to talk about it because I love this event. This is the event I get the most excited about. So, it was about 2 years ago. I was the president of a group called the Crusaders for Life. I was president for 3 years and I loved it. I was so honored to be able to have that position. The Crusaders for Life is a grassroots pro life youth group at my church and their sister church, St. John Cantress in Chicago. And they're that big yellow group with all the energy at the marches. They're very fun.
Okay.
So I was part of that group, and I didn't think that it was enough to just go to these marches and to have a meeting once a month. So when I kind of took over, I started doing like little things monthly, like volunteering at PRCs and volunteering at pro life resale shops and little things like that. But then one year I decided, you know what, I want to do a convention that is solely focused on the youth. So I did it, and it was, decent. I was 16, so, it was good for, I would say, a 16-year-old, but I had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So it was a good event. I was grateful for it, but I learned a lot from it, and I knew how I wanted to make a difference. So I didn't think that I was actually going to do it again, just because, I was like, oh, that didn't go very well. A lot of people didn't show up. It was probably like 50 people, but, it is what it is. So anyways, and a lot of it was, like, my friends and people from my church, which is good, but they were already pro-life. So last year when I was doing this Simply Prolife thing for 100 days, I, got kicked off of social media. I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? Because social media is not working. So then I was like, actually, these people need to be just reach straight here. And like, yes, social media is good. And yes, you can reach people all around the country or around the nation. And that's good. But abortions in Illinois have gone up by 54% in the last year. Like, we are struggling over here. And so the best thing I can do is to reach these kids in person who want to get involved, who maybe don't know how, who maybe are alone. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do that high school event again because I already had the idea. I'm just going to up the game a little bit. So we did it at a different location. It was a little more tight knit. We had a lot more people. I'd say like 180 people, and the place was full. We had Abby Johnson speak. We had the Pro Life Spider-Man speak. We had Maya Abraham speak, Royce Hood. They were just wonderful. We had a panel speak. We had sponsors like Live Action, and then there were none. We had sponsors like Sidewalk Advocates for Life. And these kids were able to listen to these people who are incredible activists, and then they were able to be inspired by them and then to walk into the other room and walk up to the tables of those people's organizations and like get involved. Each organization had to offer an internship, an ambassadorship, or some sort of mentorship. They had to give
I
the
love
youth
that.
Thank you. They had to give the youth a practical way to get involved. And it was really cool. And I'm so excited about it. And we actually are doing it again this fall. I'm just kind of working out the date right now. I really want this one particular person as my keynote speaker. So she's checking to see if she's free, like which date she's free. And then I'll have a date hammered down. But I'm really excited to do it again. This year, the goal is to hit the streets.
Yeah.
Last year, it was getting involved with the organizations, and that's so good and that's so important, and that will still be part of it. But this year, it's giving these kids practical ways to hit the streets. Sidewalk counseling, teaching them how to go be bold in activism, giving the courage to do so, or just, having people, like, I'm not sure if you heard, but there's this girl, her name is Maeve. She's 16, and she's trying to start a PRC, which is so cool. And I want people to be just like that. That's what I want the youth at this event to do. So it's fun. It's awesome. We've been blessed with donations and, being able to, make it exciting. I love event planning. So, incorporating little fun details like a photo booth, and a taco truck, those kind of things I'm so excited to do and have done. And I love it.
I love that stuff too. I'm so proud of you. This is so exciting, but most importantly, it's needed. I think that we sometimes forget that the youth, high schoolers, are getting exposed to so many different things and they want to be involved. That is something that millennials and Gen Z, I think we're a little different than the older generations. I feel like a lot of the older generations were kind of like, I don't know, la-di-da about stuff. But we are very activist. We all want to do something. So giving people that outlet is amazing. That is so needed.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I'm just totally agreeing with you. And the thing that I love about Simply that I'm working on is every single human being, I think, has a calling to be active in some way in the pro-life movement.
I
And so I
agree.
want to create something that every single person can get involved with. So that means all these different ways, giving them all these different ways that they can get involved. For example, one idea that I'm working on right now that I'm going to be partnering with Abby Johnson on her organization Loveline are these Simply Mama boxes, and therefore specifically postpartum moms. So once I
Oh.
get the funding for that, it'll be cool because one person will be able to fund the box. Then I'm only buying from small businesses. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. And so one person will be funding the box, and then the different people that I've reached out to provide the items for the box have offered a discount. And so that's something simple. And then the teens or the college students that I'm going to go to their schools and have them help package them, they'll be doing something simple. So within this one thing, these Simply Mama boxes, 3 different people are active in the movement. And that's what I love about it. And I'm so excited to be able to do.
I love that so much. And you're so right. We talk about that on our podcast a lot. Everybody has different talents. I mean, the Bible even says that. We are different parts of the body, and you just figure out what your talent is and then how your talent can be used. Not everyone is going to be a public speaker. Not everyone is going to be an artist. Not everyone can be a nurse. Not everyone can do everything. You just figure out what that is and just do one step in that direction. I love that. I'm excited for those boxes. And I actually do have a couple in my head that would be good, I think, for that.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
Anything care package for moms who are postpartum. If you have any ideas, you let me know.
Okay, I will. I will. Another question I want to ask you since okay, sorry, 1 second. Okay, Freeman can edit that out. I had like a weird notification pop up. Sorry. Let me back up. So another thing I wanted to ask, because you were just talking about high schoolers, is if anyone listening has high schoolers, or if they want to reach out to high schoolers, what are some things that high schoolers need to hear when it comes to abortion? What have you found has been a really good like something that really gets them to think?
Hmm. Well, one thing I do is like I'll take flyers from the Pro Life Action League, and they're these little pamphlets called They Were Our Brothers and Our Sisters, and it just talks about abortion and what it is. And so I would go to the high schools and I would hand them out to and all the high school students passing by. And I would just ask them, what do they think about abortion? And they'd be like, oh, like it's a woman's choice. And what you have to do is you have to ask them what choice? What choice are they making? And and that I believe that's like I think I've found like 99% of the time that is high schoolers' response is, oh, it's a woman's choice. And so you just have to be like, okay, well, what are they choosing? And you get them to think about abortion. And I would say the bulk of high schoolers, which is why I think it's so important to reach out to high schoolers, haven't formed their opinion on abortion because they're not in that stage of their life yet where they're I mean, maybe
Even
some,
thinking
but
about it.
where they're having sex, where they're getting pregnant, where this is something in their
Yeah.
day to day lives, you know what I mean? And or a problem that they're facing. And so a lot of kids, high schoolers, haven't formed their opinion on it, especially freshmen and sophomores. And so it's so important that we're reaching out to them because they just need to think about it. And they just need to ask themselves, what choice are they making? What is abortion? And I've found that that is the best thing that you can say or do to make them think about it. But you have to get out there on the streets and start doing it.
Yeah. No, you're saying it on the streets. Can you give an example? So you mean like talking, so you think people should go up to high schoolers? You think, at parks, at festivals. What are you thinking when you say on the streets?
Well, you totally could. Absolutely. One time I had this pin on my backpack at Six Flags that said, I'm pro-life, ask me why. And it did start a conversation in
Ooh,
line with somebody. That was an
that's
accident. I
good.
forgot it was there, but I'm glad it was there. I don't think I would have walked around Six Flags in the area that we're in with that
Yeah.
on normally, but oh well. It's kind of like putting a target on your back.
Yeah.
But it did
That's
start a
brave.
conversation. It was an accident. I wasn't even being brave. But yeah, so I'm glad it happened. It was a good conversation. And you could totally do something like that, something subtle, where it's like a pin that says, I'm pro life, ask me why, for sure. But if you're trying to go up to people, you don't want to go up to them in an area that they're trying to, like, enjoy, like have a good time, such as like an amusement park or a beach or the mall or something like that. Instead, what I've done and what I think is effective is I've gone to college campuses and I've gone to high schools and I have literally just stayed silent and I just hand out flyers. And if they ask me a question, I'm there to answer it. I'm there to talk to them. I'm so willing to have those conversations. But I think that going to high schools and, just being there, giving them information, and these flyers, again, you can order them from the league's website, but they're so good. And I think that is the best place to reach high schoolers. And I think getting out there, public high schools, I don't know if you could do it with Catholic ones, but public high schools are on public property. And you could always check like your city's map to see where public property is. Make sure you're on that public property because that's important to make sure you're not breaking any laws. But you have every right, First Amendment right, to be out there practicing public speech and sharing the pro-life message.
Yeah, okay, well that's good. My next question for you is what exactly made you want to do any of this? You told us what made you want to do Simply Pro-Life, but like what made you interested in the pro-life movement in general?
Well, Mel, we were just talking about this on my show when I was asking you, what when you were educating yourself, what stuck out to you like a sore thumb? And for me, it was the same thing. I was about 12 years old, and I had been doing activism, like intense activism, my whole life because my grandfather is the godfather of the pro-life movement. So we were very
Oh,
involved. Yeah, it was amazing. I learned so much from him, and so I'd always been involved. But the question, I like obviously yes, it's a baby. They deserve love and respect. But and then like around the age of 12, you start learning about the real world
mm-hmm.
and how things go down.
Mm-hmm.
And I always said, well, obviously, like it's your fault if a baby's here. And then it was the question of rape because it wasn't her fault. If she was raped and she was pregnant because of rape, she didn't. People always say, "Oh, well, you make the choice before before a baby comes into existence," and I absolutely agree with that. So I struggled with the question of rape, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Okay, my grandpa, who I trust with my life, says that it's wrong to kill a baby through rape. But I need to know why." So
Mm-hmm.
again, same thing. I started doing an abundance of research because I had to know why. And then on top of that, I had to know why for myself, why abortion was wrong, not just like, oh, I grew up in it and I'm pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
to choose it for myself. So the thing that stuck out to me like a sore thumb were the statistics on rape victims and how 80% of them choose life and then, or something like that. Like it's really high statistics. And then it's like,
Yeah.
and then out of the women who end up having abortion, like another like 70 something percent say that they regret it or they felt that there was no other way. So the majority of the time, women regret having abortions because of rape. And even more than that, women don't even have abortions because of rape. And so if we really care about women, abortion is never the answer, even in cases of rape. And that's what kind of got me involved. And then I saw the abortion victims, specifically one named Baby David. And after all this research, I knew I couldn't just sit by while this was happening. So by 13, I was getting heavily involved in the pro-life movement by myself.
Wow. That's amazing. I think, and I said this on your podcast, and I've said this on this podcast, but I'm going to repeat it. I think it's very important for all of us to figure out why we know ourselves. What makes us convicted? It's great if you were raised pro life. We both were. It's fabulous. But you have to know why you believe. Because when you are in the real world and you're having these conversations with people, you have to have that conviction. And you can tell when people are feel convicted about it when people are just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I'm pro-life. You can tell the difference. So it's really important, especially if you want to get involved in activism, especially if you want to make a difference, talk about it on social media. After a while, you can't keep repeating the same talking points. Talking points aren't bad, and the talking points are the truth, but you have to also have a personal conviction of why this is wrong. So that's great. My next question for you, kind of switching gears from the pro life a little bit, you mentioned that you have a boyfriend. can you talk a little bit about, for everybody listening, especially like some of the younger girls, can you talk a little bit about how you guys met and just about being a Christian that's pro-life dating, I'm assuming, a pro-life man?
Yeah, I'm dating a pro-life man.
Okay, okay. I was
I don't
assuming.
think, I don't think, I think that would be the biggest conflict of interest if
I was
I was
gonna
like a
say
pro-life
that.
activist.
So that'd
Could
be
you
very
imagine?
uncomfortable.
We would not get along. We would not get
No.
along.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like my passion, and basically I joke it's like my personality, so it would be really bad. No, he is a huge supporter of mine, and I love him for that. And a million other reasons, of course. But so we met. Well, I grew up homeschooled, and I loved it. A 10 out of 10 recommend, especially
Okay,
in today's
nice.
culture.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing my parents ever did for me besides raising me in the faith. And I loved it. So growing up, people always make the assumption of you're homeschooled, you must not have any friends. And that's just not the case. So we were part of these co-ops where, we met once or twice a week for little classes and things like that. And it was really fun, like art class and animal class. I don't know, it was a mix. And it was so fun. So we started homeschooling when I was going into kindergarten, so I was really little. My oldest brother was in 8th grade, so we had done the school thing for a little bit, but private Catholic school was getting real expensive.
Yeah.
So we decided to homeschool, and at first I was a little disappointed because, I was social and I thought that you didn't have friends when you were homeschooled, which is wrong. And so anyways, we did these co-ops, and I was in the same co-op as him. And I knew them because, homeschoolers, like we know everybody, but we were never friends. We messaged a little bit on Google Hangouts, like Merry Christmas, but it was nothing crazy.
Oh, that's so cute.
And yeah, and gosh, I've never really gotten to talk about this before. I'm so excited. Anyways, so let's see. I was helping a friend, a mutual friend, move about 3 years, almost 3 years ago in August. I was helping them move, so I was like at their house, like helping them clean and everything. And the one kid who's about my age, he goes, "Hey, do you ever talk to this guy?" And I'm like, "I mean, no. Like he has a girlfriend, and like." He'll message me like Merry Christmas, like, a couple years ago, but like, no, nothing crazy. And I was like, he was like, "Okay, well, you should totally talk to him." I'm like, "No, he has a girlfriend. Like, I'm not going to do that. This is so rude." And he was like, "Okay, if I message him and he's broken up with his girlfriend because neither of us had talked to him in a little while, like, will you, like, reach out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever you say." So he did, and then a couple hours later, he messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, they broke up about 6 months ago." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah."
Oh.
So I messaged him. I was just like, "Hey, how you been?" And he goes, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Oh." Hold on, let me clarify. Yeah. So I was about 15 at the time. And I wasn't allowed to date till I was 18. So we were just messaging back and forth. And like November came and it was my birthday. So I invited him to my birthday party and it was fun. And then my grandpa died. And that was really tough because like I said, my grandpa, it was like, I learned so much from him and he was like, end all be all. Like, I love him. And when my grandpa died, it was kind of lonely. And I actually, my grandpa died on a Monday morning, and we were supposed to. I was 16 years old, and it was my first ever speaking engagement, like publicly. Obviously, I'd been part of the Crusaders for Life and president of that for a little while, so I had done some speaking through that. But this is my first talk at a march, and we were supposed to speak together. And he died on Monday, and it was supposed to be Saturday. So I was like, that was really rude of you to go like that, but okay.
Yeah.
I still spoke, and then I gave a little tribute to him, which was really nice, and I'm grateful I got to do that. And my boyfriend, not boyfriend at the time, came and supported me through that, and he was just a real supporter. And my grandpa was like, I would say my number one supporter, maybe besides my parents. And when he died, you lose that. I mean, obviously he's cheering you on in heaven, but it's not the same. And I feel like my boyfriend, Connell, kind of replaced that. Obviously not in the same way, but he has been like the biggest supporter of my activism. And like I told you, like
good.
Even last summer we were still friends, we weren't dating yet, and I came to him just with his anxieties about my activism. He's the one who planted the idea for Simply, and he has just been a huge supporter. So last November I turned 18, and he talked to my parents, which was really important to me,
Wow.
about dating me. And he, asked me out properly and everything. So we began dating, and a big thing is dating within the family. I think like hanging out at each other's houses with each other's families, getting to know each other's families. Like later today, so his sister is getting married, and later today, we are going tuxedo shopping. So us girls are going, and we're gonna watch the guys try on different things and like that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of like a double date because it's her and her fiance and me and him. But it's important to like do these things with each other's families. And so he is a very holy guy. We go to church together every Sunday. He's at school part of the time, obviously, but we go to church and we like to go to adoration. We pray, and I think that's really important to like remember that God is like the third person in the relationship, and just having good conversation, holding each other accountable, and remembering that this isn't about us, it's about each other, and how can we lift each other up. We have very different interests. He's going into engineering, and he loves math, and he loves cars, and I'm going into pro-life activism, where I love public speaking and hate math. And I'm not going to college, and he's going to college for 4 years. So very, very, very different, but we have the same moral beliefs, and we get along so well, and yeah, he's just like my number one.
Oh, well, you guys sound so cute. I'm really happy for you. I really respect that he asked your parents. I think that's,
Me too.
especially at your age, I think that's so respectful. I love that. And, anybody listening, I think these are just hearing Hope talk about him and just some of the things that he's done. I think these are just some things to be looking into yourself for your future. I think a man that, number one, is pro-life is very important. A man that supports you, I think, is important. You'd be surprised how many people have boyfriends who just kind of are like la-di-da, they don't really care that much. I do think, especially if you're going to be active and involved, you should be with someone who's going to encourage you and support you. And also someone that respects your family. I think that's something that we forget about, that when you marry someone, you're marrying their family. So you have to make sure that you respect their family and they respect your family. So that's lovely.
Yeah, and the really neat thing about marriage within the faith is that it's two people becoming one. And the way that you're raised plays such a huge part into who you become and how you want to do things as a husband or as a wife or as a parent. And so it's really neat to be dating within the family, because he sees how my parents do things and I see how his parent does things. And one day, when and if we get married, it'll be a combination of what we both liked and what we both didn't like, and then a little bit of our own. And that's, I think, another reason why it's so important to date within the family, just making sure you know their background and where they came from and how they were raised.
Oh, that's good. And I've never really thought of it like that, but I think that's very wise. That's very wise. So kind of last-ish question before the big final question is, you are in you've graduated high school, you are in activism, you are out here on the streets, you are trying to reach your generation, the next generation as well. When it comes to, this is partially a pop culture podcast. When it comes to pop culture, what are some things that you think, I guess maybe some lines to draw, or just some things that you've seen that you're kind of like, okay, this is not something that we should be endorsing, and like an alternative to it, I guess you could say. Like, what are just pop culture, like maybe what's your opinion on some of the things? Like,
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think like in my day-to-day life what I do versus don't do. I'm a country girl all the way, so I don't really listen to pop music.
Can't relate, but okay, I understand. I respect it.
So people are like, how do you listen to clean music? I'm like, you listen to country music. But one thing actually I just saw, so I saw that Olivia Rodrigo came out with a new song, and I was like, ooh, kind of want to listen to it. Like, because her first album, I hate to admit, Guilty Pleasure, was kind of good.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I want to go listen to it. So I was driving with my boyfriend, and I, like, pulled out his phone to, grab Spotify, open it up and play Olivia's song, and it's not letting me play it. I'm like, Connell, why is it not letting me play it? And he's like, oh, because in Spotify, you can turn off explicit music. And I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. And that's so interesting. So anyways, I was like, okay, well, I want to listen to the songs. Like, I'm going to turn it off just so I can see what the song's like. Yeah, no, -10. It was not good. And it seemed as though she kind of just added in swear words where, like, she definitely didn't need to. So, you know, it's kind of like...
Well, I was going to say really quick, I'm a big fan of hers, I will say, but I agree. I had this conversation with a friend. I think what's becoming popular now is just adding in swear words to just be like, yeah, I'm edgy. Hear me say the F word. Ha ha, look at that. And it's not necessary. It's never, almost, I will say never. It's never necessary. I agree. I like the song's okay. I mean, it's no driver's license if you know me.
No, it's no driver's license. Absolutely,
it's no driver's license.
but no, I totally agree with you. And actually, if you listen to a lot of the time artists will come out with like the clean version of the song, and the one that sticks out to me like a sore thumb is "Sand on the Beach" by or "Snow on the Beach." Sorry, "Snow on the Beach" by Taylor Swift, and it says something like "weird but effing beautiful," and the clean version is "weird but it was beautiful." And lyrically, it makes more sense to do the clean version. Like, lyrically, it sounds better to be like "weird but it was beautiful." Like that makes more sense. But then "weird but effing beautiful," like it literally, the clean version is literally better. And almost everyone I know, even like my cousins who don't really care about like swearing, will listen to the clean version because lyrically it's just better. And I think that it kind of shows like a fault of character when you can't lyrically make something sound good if it doesn't have a swear word. Like, you never need a swear word in a song. It's just not necessary.
I agree with you on that. And even in writing, I sometimes write short stories. And if I want to convey a strong emotion, I don't see that's one thing that, if these ever get published, that's one thing I do want to be known for. Like, I'm not going to curse. There's no reason to add a curse word. You can convey strong emotion without adding in, the F word, the S word, a D word even. Like, there's no need
reason
for it. Yeah.
There's no reason. Yeah, my grandpa was one of the most bold activists still known, and he never swore. He was so convincing. He was so forceful. He was so intimidating, but in a good way. But he never swore, and you don't need it. And so, I would say that's maybe one thing that you can kind of do. Other than that, the biggest thing for me when it comes to like TV shows and movies is like sex scenes. That's what bothers me the most. And so if it has a lot of that, like, I won't watch, is it Riverdale, Bridgerton? I don't know. One of those.
Probably Bridgerton.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's a little nasty.
A little
That's
raunchy.
what I heard. Yeah.
And it's like, you just don't need to be filling your brain with those kind of things. And there are other shows that are just like better alternatives. Like, even like watching some older shows, like I've been watching like the Dick Van Dyke Show and Full House and a little bit of The Office. And like those shows are way better for your brain and like just kind of like entertaining and like not so dirty. And, obviously there's hints here and there, but I don't know why the world is so obsessed with sex, but, obviously there's hints here and there, but, it's much better than something like, Bridgerton or something like that. So.
I definitely think, since we're talking about old shows really quick, two shows that I just remember watching when I was younger. So growing up, my parents had a lockdown on what we could watch, like, we were watching like Little House on the Prairie, where everybody was watching like Family Guy. Little House on the Prairie, so good.
So
Chef's
good.
Kiss. It's
Top
basically
tier.
a soap opera. Like, looking back, it was like a dramatic soap opera, so good. I mean, there was like betrayal, and it's such a good show.
Romance.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then the Gilligan's Island. When I was younger, I used to think that was the funniest show on earth, Gilligan's Island. And another one is Green Acres. And Green Acres is this man brings his wife who was used to living in New York City. She lived in a high rise. She was really ritzy, and brings her to live in like the country. It was so funny because, that would be like if someone made me live in the country. And that was a funny show too. Those are just like, there's good older shows. And I mean, I still think that there are a few a lot of good shows out there. Like, I really enjoyed Manifest. It
Oh, is that the
swayed.
airplane one?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
swayed from, like, at the very beginning, I did think it was like, oh, this is definitely Christian inspired. And then a couple of times it was kind of like, ooh, it didn't land the plane on that. No pun intended. But there's still some good shows. But I do think, like, I think you made two very good points. And it's hard to balance. And you really need to use discernment, because I'll talk about the cursing first. So with cursing, as you guys know, we don't curse on this podcast. And we ask our guests not to curse, because that's just something that we don't, I just don't think it's necessary. I don't want to do it. I would like this to stay clean. I don't think it's necessary, and it's not really edifying. Have I used a curse word before? I'm human. It has come out of my mouth before. Is it something I'm proud of? No. Is it something that I ever want to do again? No. But this is one of those things. I know some people definitely, I've mentioned to someone who I know through like politics. We're acquaintances, I guess. And she was like, you're making a big deal out of it that it needs to be. I was like, well, no. I don't think it's necessary, and this is my platform, so I don't want cursing on it. So I think and part of that is making sure that we are not, I think you made a good point with the music, you're not constantly listening to that. And that's, once again, that's something I personally know I need to work on. Not constantly listening to songs that have curse words in them. And then to the sex scenes, that is something that is really good shows are ruined with them.
Oh,
Give
totally.
you an example. How to Get Away with Murder. I still love that show, but I had to watch it on Netflix because I'm like having to fast forward through these completely unnecessary sex scenes that have nothing to do with the plot.
I know,
and
you can totally imply. You can totally imply.
Oh yeah, imply
showing
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, like, implying makes it even more like spicy, in my opinion. Like, ooh, did they do it? Did they not do it? Like, it adds more drama to it. But I mean, I just remember, like, I think it was maybe the second season, and I just started noticing, because like I said, growing up, we didn't watch any shows like that. So like, it was, once I went to college, it was kind of shocking, everything at once. And I just remember like second season watching and being like, what? They're not even talking during the scene. What is the purpose of this? Fast forward, and it does ruin shows. So this is
you
my
want something interesting.
Oh,
sorry.
yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, this is my plea for girls who can sing really well, sing pop music. We need you in pop music without cursing and a bunch of sexual innuendos. And then if you're good at acting and directing, we need more movies and TV shows. So please,
with you on that. Yeah, absolutely.
So what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Super, super interesting. You will never, ever see a married couple having sex on a show. Like, if the characters are married, you will never see a sex scene. They'll always imply. They may imply, but you will never see it. The only time it's a sex scene is when they're unmarried. Every time. Without fail.
Is so interesting.
That's worse than it just being a sex scene. That's implying, hey, this is fine when you're not married. And then we don't really care once you're married. It's just like, oh, they're married, whatever. Every time.
I'm like trying to refute you in my head, but I can't think of any. You're so right. That's interesting.
It irritates me. Yeah.
I've never thought of that. Wow.
Because there would be some shows you'd be watching like, oh, they're married. Are they going to like have this scene or whatever? Actually, no, there was one movie. And that was the movie Coda, where the two characters were married and there was a sex scene. But I have never, other than that movie, I have never seen a married couple, like a married couple sex scene. It is always unmarried.
You are blowing my mind right now.
Thank
I'm
you.
kind of upset. We like
keep an eye out for it. And that's just Hollywood just trying to shove it down our throats.
And that's why we need good entertainment. And I don't mean, and I'm not trying to dog these people. The people who did like Facing the Giants and Fireproof. Those are good movies. My mom thinks that Fireproof and Facing the Giants are peak cinema. And I'm not saying they're not. But there could be other types of movies too, That's why it's so important. We were talking about earlier, full circle moment. We were talking about earlier, like, we all have different talents. That's why it's so important, if you do have a talent like this, to not hold back. Don't be shy. Be bold. I don't have any money, but I can support you, like, emotionally. I can promote you a little bit if you need me to. Like, I want to see I'm going to see Barbie. I'm excited for that because I love
Me too.
Barbies and everything.
I'm so
But,
excited.
there's definitely going to be moments in that movie that I'm going to probably roll my eyes, and I would love a version of that where I can laugh and just enjoy the entire time and not think about like, oh god, that's dumb. I mean, I'm still going to see it, but like I would love for movies like that. Movies a good clean version of, I'm just trying to think of, not even a good clean version, but like Princess Diaries. They don't make movies like Princess Diaries anymore. That was like pinnacle cinema to me. Now that's cinema.
Oh, you know what I'm
Princess
getting a kick out of
Diaries.
right now is like the older early 2000s movies like Legally Blonde and Mean Girls and Clueless. Like they're
Yes.
just so
Yes.
fun and
So
like
fun.
nothing wrong with them. Like yeah, there's a little
No.
implying or whatever, but they're so fun.
And they're
I'm like,
yeah, and they're fairly clean. Like, oh,
yeah.
such good times.
Oh my gosh, I love those movies. Actually, another really good Today show like that came out like recently. It's called The Lincoln Lawyer. It's like hardly
I've
anything bad.
heard.
No bad scenes.
Okay.
And like yeah, they like imply or whatever, but like it's not that it's not like it's I mean compare it's mostly you're mostly just getting the story, which I love. Like I love what's just focus on the story. So yeah. That's
Okay.
my 2
Okay.
cents.
Good to know. Good to know. Um, Are there, so another question, are there any books that you've read or podcasts you've listened to
Yes.
that you
Love
think would be
podcasts.
really good for our audience to learn from, or that you have been enjoying?
So I'm not much of a reader. I'm trying to be more so, but I'm like so busy. I never find time to like sit down and read.
Yeah, I
So I'm
feel
not going to
you
give any
on
suggestions on that because I'm not the person to ask. But podcasts, I'm a big podcast girly. But I need to find more because I feel like I'm struggling. So my favorite one right now is called Murder with My Husband, and
that.
it's
Oh,
so good. First of all, they uplift the victims and give respect to them, which I think is beautiful. They
that's very
share their
important.
story in a very good way. It's a little entertainment because we love mystery and we love finding out what happens and things like that. She does not swear, and she makes it a point. She like says she's not going to swear. She's like, I don't like swearing, so I don't swear.
I'm gonna have to check this one out.
Yeah,
I've seen it on the charts. I haven't
it's a
listened to it, but I've seen
husband
it on
and
the charts.
wife. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a husband and wife, and they don't let any of their propaganda show through. I have no idea if they're liberal or conservative. No idea. And I've listened to every single episode. And so anyways, I love them. I endorse them because, I don't really care about their personal beliefs when I'm just trying to get some entertainment. You know what I mean? Like I get not everyone's going to be pro-life. And I get that. Not that I agree with it, but I just I want to be able to enjoy a murder mystery podcast without being like, "Oh my gosh." So yeah, I love that one. There's another one I like, but I'm not going to say it because I don't think that it's like as good. And she does swear a little bit, and she definitely is liberal. So I'm like, whatever. Like it's not shoved down your throat, but like I'm not going to recommend it kind of thing. That's another murder mystery though. As for like just like sit down, listen, and kind of like zone out, probably What in the Dang Heck.
Oh, that's what it's
And
called.
yeah, it's called What in the Dang Heck. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
I've
I'm
never
sure
heard
you
of
did.
that. I love that name so much.
Yeah, so you would love that one. Definitely should do a collab with them because you guys would fit so nicely
Okay.
together.
The
Other than
Dang
that,
Heck,
I'm
I
really
love
struggling to
that.
find new podcasts right now. Every once in a while, I'll listen to an episode of the Lila Rose show, like specifically her one on motherhood. That one was really good. Sometimes my boyfriend will be like, "Hey, go listen to this Pints of Aquinas one," and I'll be like, "Okay," and that will be good too. I'm subscribed to a lot of podcasts, but don't have like. I'm right now. I'm kind of low on shows right now, but
Okay.
those I would
Okay.
say would be my top. And then my podcast, that one's
Of
really good.
course. Of course. Of course.
Actually, I do listen to my own episodes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun because I get to re-listen to conversations with people, and it's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, last question, and we answer every guest this question, and it is probably one of the most important questions that we'll ask on the show. And the question is, if every single girl in the entire world was looking at you right now, what is one thing you would tell them?
That is a great question. So I was thinking about this a little bit. A video I made a couple months ago, I talked about respecting yourself, and that is pro-life. So getting up in the morning, taking care of yourself, getting dressed, showering, doing your hair, doing your makeup, making your bed, cleaning your room, going for a run, getting exercise, eating healthy. Those are all small and simple things you can do to respect yourself. And if we ever want to create a culture that respects every single human being, born or unborn, we need to start with respecting ourselves. And you can do it in little ways every day. So I would say start by respecting yourself, remembering that you are a child of God made in His image, to treat yourself like that. And when you start off the day doing that, you can then go out the rest of the day and serve others. But you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself and if you're not respecting yourself first. So get ready in the morning, do your hair, do your makeup, eat something good, go for a walk, just get out there, do something that you enjoy, a little reading, a little podcast, guilty pleasure, whatever it is. Respect yourself and then go out and take care of others because we're called to.
That's good. That's good.
Thank
Well,
you,
let's
thank you,
end
thank
on
you.
that. Thank you so much, Hope, for coming on. This has been a fabulous episode. You guys make sure you follow her at Hope Miller and at Simply Prolife, correct? Simply Prolife is the other one you
Yeah,
have?
the it's at underscore Hope Miller because apparently there's more Hope
Okay.
Millers in the world than just me.
Okay, I'll make sure to add that underscore. And do you have anything else you want to promote? Is there an event or something you want to tell people about?
I'm really excited about the event that we're doing in the fall, but I can't quite promote it yet because I don't have a
Okay.
date. But it's going to be in October and it's going to be in Chicagoland. So if you follow me on Instagram, either, at underscore Hope Miller or Simply Pro Life, or you go to the Simply Pro Life website, which is just simplyprolife.org, or you email me, which is hope at simplyprolife.org. I try and keep things simple. And, or check out my podcast, the Simply Pro Life podcast. On any of those forums, you will see the event. And it's gonna be great, and I'm really excited about it.
Yay. Well, I'm super excited for it to let those other girls know how we can help in any capacity when the time comes up. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, however you're listening. If it's on YouTube, if it's on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to it, just interact with it. It makes a huge difference. Let us know what is your, on the Spotify with the questions, let us know what is your simple way that you help the pro-life movement.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
yeah, let us know. And then in the comments on YouTube, tell us about it. All right, you guys, have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.